Hello, I'm Joe Marino, and welcome to the A-List. My guest on this edition is Jeremy Bargiel, writer and producer for the Lizzie McGuire Show. Hi, Jeremy. Welcome to RB.
Well, thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, can you tell me what your inspiration for being a writer is?
Well, my inspiration for that was essentially, I've always liked television when I was a kid, and I always liked animation and cartoons like anybody else on Saturday mornings and watching that sort of thing. And as I became a little bit older and went to college, I realized I didn't really want a real job, and I thought that was the time to pursue writing. And I was very fortunate meeting some people in Los Angeles, and I worked on the Lizzie show in 2000 through 2003, and then worked on a number of other shows in the past few years as far as live action and animation.
Okay. Do you know exactly where you worked at?
Basically what I've done over the past 10 years, my first show was Lizzie, and I worked on that as a writer or producer. I also acted in about 8 or 9 episodes. After that, I worked on a show for Nickelodeon called Romeo. I've worked in animation for a show on the Cartoon Network called The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I've worked for VeggieTales. I have worked for a number of other Disney animated shows, Brandy and Mr. Whiskers. Let's see. Some of the other ones escape me at the moment, but that's probably because they're not on the air anymore.
Well, that's a lot of shows. So, how fun was it? Was it fun writing those shows?
Oh, it's great. I mean, the process is really, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a collaborative process. Essentially, with any script, you start with an idea, you build it to an outline, and then you build it to a script. But you get a lot of insight and input from the other producers, the other writers, from the networks. And over the course of time, you put the script together, it goes through a lot of different revisions. It's tremendous to work with a bunch of people who sit in a room and tell jokes all day. So I can't imagine anything that would be better.
So tell me about the Lizzie McGuire Show. When did you start working on it?
We started work on that, I believe, in the spring of 2000. The original title was What's Lizzie Thinking, which became Lizzie McGuire. And we worked there for 3 years, produced 65 episodes. Me and my writing partner, Nina Bargiel, my sister, we wrote 17 episodes. And I got to act in, I believe, 9 episodes, which was a lot of fun. I played one of the neighbors of the McGuires, and essentially towards the tail end of the show, for one reason or another, I owned a chimpanzee that, strangely enough, would be loose in the neighborhood, and I'd either have to pick it up or drop it off. So kids television is very fun, very interesting, really a wonderful experience.
Do you remember the first one you were on?
Yeah, I think the first one that I did was called Rated Aargh. And basically the story was that Lizzie and her friends snuck into a rated R movie, and there was a gentleman who was choking in the lobby, and Lizzie saved that person from dying by giving him the Heimlich maneuver, which he had learned about 10 minutes prior in the episode. And she was a big hero on TV, so naturally they gave her press coverage, her parents saw it at home, and she was busted for going to the rated R movie. But we shot this around Christmas time, and there were a lot of things that were going on as far as different shows that were being cast, and they were pressed in casting to have somebody who was actually choking. So they came into the writer's room one day and they said, "We need a really big fat guy." And all the writers looked at me, and I said, "Fine, I'll do it." And the funny thing was that the way that we set it up is that obviously me and the other actor who had walked into the lobby, we didn't know what the Heimlich was, so he was punching me trying to dislodge this gumball which I had stuffed in my face. And that didn't seem to work very well. And then Hillary Duff would come over and try to give me the Heimlich. But she was so scared of the hitting and the punching that we had to do about 40 or 50 takes to make sure that it actually worked. And I was pretty bruised and battered when we finally got it done. But it got a bunch of laughs. Everybody liked it a lot. It played out very well on the show and got me some more acting episodes as I continued writing on the show.
Okay. What did you do after the Lizzie McGuire show?
I worked on a show called Romeo for Nickelodeon. It starred Bow Wow. Back then he was Little Bow Wow, the rapper, and his father's Master P. And essentially what it was is kind of a Partridge Family, Lizzie McGuire type show. They had a band, they performed in the garage. Dad was a record producer, and it was a great experience. It was a lot of fun, but it was much different than Lizzie in the sense that on Lizzie we actually filmed right on the lot where we wrote the episodes, and in this show, for economical purposes, they filmed it in Vancouver, so I was writing about 1,000 miles away from where somebody was actually shooting it.
So, what are you doing right now?
Well, right now, I have a show that I'm working on trying to sell, and working with my agent and my manager. But I started a company in the last 2 years that makes smartphone applications for the iPhone and Android. And I have a game coming out June 2nd called Hardball Ace. It features John Lester of the Boston Red Sox. And it's a 3D game, and basically it's the most realistic game that you can have on a mobile device where you can actually play against an individual player. So it's his pitches, the speed of his pitches, all boiled down to a mobile device.
Okay. And I see you have a couple of scripts from a couple of past episodes.
Yeah, I brought in today, there is 2 scripts. One from Lizzie McGuire called The Rise and Fall of the Kate Empire. And that was produced, I believe, in the 2nd season of Lizzie. And the other one is animated episode, half-hour episode from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, which was Billy and Mandy Save Christmas, where we find out that Mrs. Claus happens to be a vampire. So they had their work cut out for them.
Okay. Well, what do you think? Can you go into more detail about the episode with rated Aargh?
Sure. I mean, that was it was a fun experience because I'm not an actor by trade, and there was a lot of improvisation on that. After I'd been hit a number of times, I decided that, made a suggestion to the director that it'd be very funny if I hit this person back, which seemed to go over very well with the director and everybody who was watching, and he didn't really know about it. So when I hit him, not as hard as I wanted to after taking 30 punches to the gut, he was really caught off guard, and it kind of bent him backwards almost to a 90-degree angle. But he caught himself and slowly came up, and it turned out to be a wonderful shot. Got a lot of laughs. We got a lot of letters about that. So I kind of learned as I went along that, like anything else, I mean, the writing sets the tone, but there is improvisation that happens that, depending on the director and the people that you're working with, is always a good thing that, can possibly make the material better.
Okay. Do you have any good memories about working on the past shows?
Yeah, I mean, specifically with Lizzie, because that was my first show. That was just a wonderful cast of characters. I mean, a show takes, about 150 people at different levels doing different things to put together. So you get to know everybody on a daily basis. And I made some great friends not only with the writers, but the people who did sound, the people who were the camera people, the people who were in transportation, the people in editing. And, I still talk to those people, and, it was just a wonderful family environment. And I talked to the kids who are the actors who have moved on. Some are acting, some are not. They have different things that they're doing, and their families as well. So it was really a wonderful memory to meet all those people. And the other, thing that I take from that is we only had 3 writers on the show. So we had to produce 65 episodes, which we really did in 2 years because we had a shortened season because of a strike that was looming. So I really learned how to, it was my trial by fire as far as writing, because 95% of our first draft had to be shootable because we didn't have time to sit in the writer's room as much as we'd want to and break scripts down, because we had to shoot a script every week.
Okay, well, thanks for explaining that. Thank you for watching the A-List for my guests, Jeremy Bargiel. I'm Joe Marino. See you next time.